you're gonna break into. On you. Talking Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. Across the web, on Fight Now TV, and on radio stations around the world. It's the only daily boxing talk radio show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talking Boxing with Billy C. is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C studio in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for Talking Boxing with Billy C. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you listen. Hope you're doing all right. Hope you're doing better than me, man. Broke a tooth today. You know, how do you break a tooth? You know, I'm always making you guys feel better about yourselves, but because, you know, of my misfortune. But how do you break a tooth sucking on a lollipop? You know, I get my hair cut today, as you can see, and you know, as I was leaving, I grabbed a lollipop. You know, I give to the kids. I always take one. You know, and I unwrapped the lollipop, stick it in my mouth, and I'm sucking on a lollipop a little bit, and all of a sudden I felt this. I don't know what the hell it was. It felt like a rock in my mouth. That's my tooth. I gotta go get it pulled or fixed or something tomorrow. Probably pulled, because it's a good half a tooth that got yanked out or broke. I don't know. Anyway, you think you're having a bad day. I'm spitting out my teeth. Anyway, this show is being brought to you in part by Camp and Aaron Tomkovich. If you're looking for a lawyer, use the ones that keep my ass out of trouble. That's Camp and Aaron Tomkovich. Give them a call today, 845-221-4099. 845-221-4099. The show is also being brought to you in part by Jimmy Birchfield and Classic Entertainment and Sports, and their event that's taking place on this weekend. That's right, July 27th at the Twin River Event Center. Get yourself some tickets right now by visiting our website. www.billycboxing.com. Click on the fight poster. That's right there on the top. It's called Game On. And when you get yourself some tickets, call them and ask them to tell you about the specials. They got some deals going on if you buy ringside or VIP seating or might even be some other seating, I don't know, that you get dinner certificates and all this other stuff. Tell them Billy C said you demand a Billy C discount and ask about the special deals they got over at Jimmy Birchfield's Classic Entertainment Sports. That's going to be a great show. And as a matter of fact, our very own Alex Papali will be there. So anyway, yeah, I'm talking to my man Hanging Fire in the chat room. As a matter of fact, we're lonely in there. So if you're watching or listening live, come on over to the chat room at BillyCBoxing.com. And he's a premium podcast subscriber who we value immensely. And they had some problems for the last couple of days. But I will tell you this, it looks way better, man. I think, the company that handles the podcast, when they F up or when they change something, they never tell you. They're always like, oh, no, there's nothing wrong. Oh, no, everything's great. Everything's great. I'm getting emails and emails. What's going on? I can't get the show. You're ruining my day. Blah, 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 blah. And then finally, all of a sudden, they send me an email. Everything's great. It's back up. It's working fine. And I go there, and it's like a whole new screen, a whole new... It's a new version. They could have told us all that in the beginning, and nobody would have been flipping out. Some sad news to report before we get started here. Former world champion in the welterweight division and middleweight division, and I know he challenged in the junior middleweight, and he's also a boxing Hall of Famer. Emil Griffith passed away today, and our thoughts, prayers, and condolences go out to the friends and family of Emil Griffith. He was 75 years old. He had been not doing too well in the last year or so. I had the opportunity of meeting Emil several years ago when he was in decent shape. As a matter of fact, we had him record you're listening to, this is Emil Griffith, and you're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. But there was so much background noise. We were at Madison Square Garden. I was covering an event there, and there was so much background noise that I could never use it. But I have it someplace recorded with many other things. But Emil Griffith, he's no longer with us, 75 years old, which isn't that old these days. At least I'm hoping. But anyway, we're going to miss him. And another bit of sad news. It was reported just not too long ago, a couple hours ago, that a British fighter, he's from Worcestershire, Worcestershire. Worcestershire. I don't know. Billy Smith, they call him the Gypsy. Billy Smith. This was a guy that had been around, a veteran in the sport. He was 35 years old. As a matter of fact, he was scheduled to fight this weekend. He was one of those trial horses. He had a record of 13 wins, no knockouts, 145 losses. But he had only been stopped 8 times in those 145 losses, a couple of draws. He fought as a welterweight recently, and he fought as recently as July 6th when he lost a 4-round decision to Robbie Barrett. Apparently he took his own life, so our thoughts, prayers, condolences go out to his friends and family as well. So a couple of deaths to kick off the show. I just hate when that happens. Anyway, we got some emails. I got some fight results I want to talk about in Japan coming up a little bit later. Manny Pacquiao, Bam Bam Rios, they're starting their tour for promotional tour for their fight coming up in the fall. And speaking of the fall, Miguel Cotto, Delvin Rodriguez, it's been made official. We'll talk about that. Also, which was made official, we're just going to wait for a date and location, is Carl Froch, George Groves. I'll give you my thoughts about that. Some comments from Nathan Cleverly, which I think is going to come back to haunt him. Dord Jordan, he's challenging one of my favorite fighters, calling him out, so we'll talk about that. My man Giovanni Segura is going to be getting back in the ring, and he's going to be taking on a hot young prospect, so we'll see about that. Rafael Marquez, remember, Juan Manuel's brother? He just signed a deal. My girl Holly Holm, who left boxing, She made a debut, not her MMA debut because she's already fought in MMA several times, but a debut in a league, and I'll tell you about that. We might get to some other stuff a little later. We'll probably open up the phone line and all that happy stuff. Now, for you podcast subscribers and the internet viewers and YouTubers and all of that, we will not be doing a live show tomorrow because I had to get my tooth fixed, man. I'm in excruciating pain here. Even these cough drops that I have every night to keep my throat from getting all messed up during the show is killing me as it's burning the air that's got the nerves exposed. So, yeah, I'm a hurting unit today. But anyway, one email before I take a break. Riri Hope. Guess this guy hates me. I don't know. Riri Hope says, what the hell are you talking about, man? He says, Manny brought up his name, his meaning Floyd, and Manny's fight is not until October. First, Manny's advisor talked about the fact that they still had a chance to fight Floyd. Then it was Manny talking about it. This is in response to me cutting up Floyd, that he has to steal the limelight, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, the bottom line, Riri Hope, is, Floyd does have to be the center of attention. And, in my opinion, now obviously your opinion is different, but my opinion is that, Floyd should have fought Manny a couple of years ago. Whether it's an issue now or not, it's going to be something that is going to haunt Floyd Mayweather forever. People are going to ask him about that. And if that fight would have taken place 2 or 3 years ago, I would have put my money on Manny Pacquiao. If the fight takes place anytime now or in the future, I'll put my money on Floyd. But Riri Hope, thanks for taking the time to email us or put your message up or whatever you did to get in front of me right now, even though you hate us.
If you're in upstate New York and you need a trucking company, then you need Riselli Enterprises. Riselli Enterprises is trucking at its finest. They have it all: dump trucks, dump trailers, walk-in floors, flatbeds, flowboys, tankers, loaders, and a full line of roll-off containers for any job, big or small. Riselli Enterprises is also the source for all your sand, gravel, and topsoil needs. Visit them on the web at RiselliTrucking.com or call 315-433-5115. That's 315-433-5115 and tell them Billy C sent you.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
We've got a great matchup tonight. Fighting out of the left corner is the #1 ranked contender.
No, he is not.
I'm sorry, but who are you?
I am the IBO computer. I am programmed to provide only fair and unbiased boxing rankings. This fighter is the number 15 ranked contender.
Fair and unbiased boxing rankings? That's a new concept.
Actually, it is not. The IBO has provided unbiased computerized rankings for many years.
Well, we've still got a great fight tonight, folks. In the left corner is the number 15 ranked contender.
The IBO, the champion of integrity. Learn more at iboboxing.com.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
As a young boy, all Billy C dreamed about was one day having his own catchphrase.
And we're back. And we're back.
One boy, one dream, one day, everyone will say.
And we're back. 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 And we're back.
Catchphrase coming soon to a theater near you.
And the toothless Billy C is back. The toothless Billy C. Or half a tooth. Go home and brush your half a tooth, Billy C. My main man is in the chat room. Rufus. Hey, it's an inside joke. Anyway, we got some emails to read, and I just read the one from, a hater. A hater. See, everybody always calls me a hater, so now when somebody, they refer to me negatively, they're a hater. If you don't love Billy C, you're a hater, damn it. You're prejudiced, damn it. Anyway, Master Blaster. I love that movie. Master Blaster says, why should Floyd fight Canelo? Listen, you guys, I get criticized. Let me just tell you, man, I get criticized. I'm the butt of the jokes. I get an email the other day that says I should call up Mayweather Promotions and have them write me a check every week because I'm the best promotional tool they have, and all of this stuff. And really, you guys bring him up. Every single day I read an email that has to do with him, whether it's pro or con. And then I get criticized for always talking about the guy. And I would love nothing more than to never see or hear from him again. Anyway, with that said, Master Blaster says, why would Floyd fight Canelo and not Pacquiao back then? Drug testing, maybe. He says Pac was scared of needles back then. Do you remember? He says, although he isn't anymore, or is he? Which one is it today? Well, first and foremost, Canelo was a non-issue three years ago. And, the needle thing, if you recall, first of all, the whole performance-enhancing drug thing was basically Floyd brought it to the attention in this sport. And it was kind of in its infancy stage in a sense because nobody else had really done it. Floyd started, demanding it, and people were like, whoa, who is Floyd? Why is he, doing this and the other thing? And during that point where they were going back and forth, I think it was just some BS thing Bob Arum said. And it wasn't that they said he was scared of needles, which is, that's kind of funny. Sonny Liston was actually deathly afraid of needles when it came time to give blood. The guy was, they had to practically give him sleeping pills and knock him out. I mean, unbelievable, which always made me think, he killed himself with an OD, shooting up heroin. Come on, guy doesn't even like needles. But anyway, the reason Pacquiao gave, if you recall, Master Blaster, was that he felt that it would weaken him. He had no problem giving blood, but he didn't want to get weakened up to a week. Or he might have even said something outrageous like 2 weeks before. But that got thrown in the garbage can. That excuse from Pacquiao got thrown in the garbage can pretty quick. So I don't know, man. But anyway, points taken. He also says, I think Paulie's a pretty good fighter. He lacks power. I agree. I was disappointed with him not using his feet against Broner, who's overrated in my view. He says, like I thought, in Master Blaster's view, he says, like I thought he would. Paulie has always put in a good performance even when he lost. As far as a boxer, I don't like Paulie because he thinks he's great. He thinks he's elite. He thinks he's this, and he's got Fran Drescher's voice. But I listen, Master Blaster, both your points are taken, and I appreciate your thoughts, man. I can't argue with either one of them, really, as much as I would like to. I really can't. Deli Boys. It's different. But anyway, Deli Boy says, interesting thoughts on Floyd not challenging himself. And I agree, but I put Manny in the same bracket. He's been hiding behind Top Rank and Bob Arum, fighting the same opponents or fighters coming off losses, and I don't think people can dispute this. He could have decided against renewing his contract with Top Rank, but he renewed it, knowing that it would put his fight with Floyd out the window. But he renews it, and he's big enough to go it alone, so you can't say he needs Top Rank. I would agree that you could say that he does not need Top Rank. That's a good point. I disagree with the fact that He picks fighters that are coming off losses. Whether he does or not, I think the overall, matchups that you see Manny in are much better than the matchups you see Floyd in, at least in my opinion. And the other thing is, there's nothing wrong with fighting a fighter more than once, especially if the fight was entertaining or close or a disputable or a controversial fight. So I don't have any problems with that. In a nutshell, what Deli Boy's saying is they're both to blame, and you can't really dispute that as well. Deli Boy also says, what do you make of the Groves versus Froch, Billy C? I think people are underestimating George Groves. If it goes 12, I can't see Froch winning it. Groves has the better technique, footwork, speed, accuracy, and a jab. It'll go one of two ways, in Deli Boy's opinion. Froch destroys Groves like he did with Butte, or Groves fights like Durrell did against Froch and outboxes him. I'm going to say Groves by a split decision. I might be the only guy on the planet that felt that Carl Froch actually beat Durrell. I thought that, I watched that fight the night it happened, and then I rewatched it, and both times I felt that Carl Froch won. I thought Durrell came back in the latter part of the fight, but I thought Froch won. Now, the only guy, and his point, I believe, Deli Boy's point, is that, if he fights a boxer, he's going to have trouble. Well, I'm certainly not going to put Andre Durrell, in the same category as an Andre Ward. And, to tell you the truth, that's the only fight that I thought that he lost. I don't think that the Mikhail Kessler fight that he on paper lost, I don't think he actually lost that one. If you're saying that you feel that Groves is as good as an Andre Ward or a Kessler, then you have a point. But I don't see it. I see this being a little too soon for Groves. And I don't know what the rush is. I think the rush is really Eddie Hearn's fault. I find it hard to believe. This particular fight is similar. I look at this fight similar to the way I look at Bernard Hopkins and Karol Murat. There's so many, these fights aren't going to go away. The George Groves Carl Froch fight is not going to lose its appeal a fight or two down the line. So I don't understand why they're doing it now. Same thing, if the IBF is making Karol Murat a mandatory for Bernard Hopkins, I don't see why Bernard Hopkins didn't put in for a voluntary title defense against someone else, a money fight. Both of these guys are I mean, we could say Carl Froch is in the twilight of his career, but that's an understatement for Bernard. But the truth of the matter is they should be looking for the biggest money fights they possibly can. Any of these fights, even a layup fight, could. And he ended up sustaining the worst head gash he's ever had, and it pretty much ended his career. I mean, his next fight he was bleeding before the bell rang. So I mean, something like that could happen. And I just think that, when you're at the stage that these two guys are at, why take the chance? Deli Boy says, I'm glad that Mickey Bay got stopped. I can't stand drugs and cheats, which brings me on to another point. How do you think drugs and cheats in boxing should be punished? I think that every bout that the fighter has won should be changed to a no contest and a 12-month ban. It may be harsh, but the slap on the wrist punishments are not working. Interesting question, Deli Boy. Deli Boys. I think that the penalties should be severe, especially now. Now, when I first was, if you guys have been listening, obviously a lot of you have been listening to the show for a while, and if you recall, when they first started, making sure that people weren't testing positive or anything, and then you had some of the high-profile guys test positive. that was the beginning. That was where there should have been a little leeway, but not anymore. As far as, reversing all their decisions, you can't do that because there's no proof that the fighter used a performance-enhancing drug or cheated in any way, shape, or form prior to, otherwise they would have been busted prior to the time when they got busted. But if it were me, I would make them, to tell you the truth, as strongly as I feel about it, if it's going to be a rule, I think that they should get a mandatory, 1-year ban from the sport. I don't care who they are, 1 year. And then if they should test positive again after that, lifetime ban for performance-enhancing drugs. So at this stage of the game, they get caught right now, even if it's a first offense, 1 year ban, bam, 1 year ban. And then if they get caught again after that, anytime after that, they're banned for life. Now, how do I feel about loaded gloves? I think loaded gloves should be banned for life the very first time that it happens. So yeah, I'm in agreement with you 100%. There's no room for cheaters in any sport, especially in this sport where performance-enhancing drugs could endanger one of the fighters. So that's the way I feel. And he says the last point I'm going to make is on the Rigondeaux situation. What HBO and Top Rank are doing is disgusting. Is this the same HBO who put on loads of Bernard Hopkins snooze fests or some awards ugly bouts? Rigo is way more entertaining than those two. I even think he's more entertaining than Mayweather. At least Rigo throws combos and goes after a fighter when he's hurt. I agree with you 110%, except for one part of this. It has nothing to do with Top Rank. Top Rank is not withholding Rigondeaux from HBO. As a matter of fact, they're the ones that are pretty much uptight that HBO is doing this. Now, just FYI, HBO is not going to never let Rigondeaux come back on the show on the network. It's just that right now it doesn't look like he's ever going to be a main event again, let alone on a pay-per-view. So, but I agree with you. I think that he's way more exciting than Bernard Hopkins. I think he's more exciting than Floyd Mayweather. And, I'm not so sure about the new Andre Ward, but I could see your points about some of his older fights. And that was my point the other day. If you're going to say he's boring and his style is not conducive to the enjoyment of the fans, well, then how could you put a Bernard Hopkins on your network, HBO? How could you, at one time, obviously they're not doing it now, but at one time put Floyd Mayweather on there, or any of these other fighters that fight with that style. So I agree with that thought process, and I agree with Deli Boy. So, hey, listen, I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, I got some more emails to read, and we got some news. We got some results out of Japan from today, which was actually yesterday in Japan, I think. I don't know. I lose track of that. Day ahead, day behind. I don't know. And a whole bunch of other news, including the fact that Manny Pacquiao and Bam Bam Rios are kicking off their tour. Miguel Cotto has announced his opponent officially, and a bunch more stuff coming up in about 2.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
Broadcasting in all corners of the globe, on the web and radio.
He would scoff at a stretch of that man, I would think.
You're listening to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. from upstate New York and the good old US of A.
Boxing is here to stay because we are here to stay.
The best 2 hours of boxing talk on the airwaves.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com.
Join it today. Again, www.kofantasyboxing.com and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Test 1 2. Test 1 2. My fellow Americans, good evening. Welcome back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It's great to be here discussing the sweet science with everybody. I love boxing. I love talking boxing. That's what I do.
Bill.
Wait, what?
Bill.
Why are you interrupting me? What?
Wrong.
What's the problem?
Billy
What?
C.
I did not have...
We're gonna have to ask
wrong
you.
speech. What do you mean wrong, Billy C? What's going on here? Fine, I'll go. I just wanted to talk some boxing on TPSradio.net. That's all I wanted to do. I don't need your damn show. I'll get my own talking wrestling with the other Billy C. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I've always been a Hulkamaniac anyway.
Broadcasting live, brother. Welcome back to Talking Boxing with Billy C. on the mighty TPSradio.net, brother. What you gonna do, brother?
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. Glad you could join us. And I'm missing half a tooth, so I'm having some issues, as I can hear. So is Fight Now trying to connect there. It just sounds like ringing and ringing and ringing, and they're having some trouble. You know, so sorry guys. Anyway, that's why you should be a premium podcast subscriber. Anyway, the Gift Media says, hey, Billy C., something just occurred to me. You seem to have a predilection. What kind of word? Maybe Alex can explain to me what that means. But he says predilection towards guys who go... I never heard that word, unless it's misspelled. I don't know. Towards guys who go in there with the intention of taking someone out, like Mike Tyson or Triple G. We all know how much you rave about them, but what's your opinion about guys who just do the opposite, like Miguel Vasquez or Richard O'Brien, guys who go in the ring to get a decision and do it beautifully by boxing for 12 rounds? Me, personally, I'm a fan of both types of these fighters, but you seem to be a little biased towards the former. Well, you know, like a lot of boxing fans, I do like action-packed fights. I'd be lying if I said anything else. But the truth of the matter is those two that you name, Miguel Vasquez and Richard O'Brien, happen to be two of the most boring fighters on the planet. You know, they don't even display the sweet science. You know, if you're going to say a guy like Floyd Mayweather, you know, I enjoyed his fight with Robert Ghost Guerrero. I thought that it was entertaining to a degree. I also think that Guillermo Rigondeaux, we've been talking about him. I think that's entertaining. A guy like Sweet Pea Whitaker was entertaining. You know, so no, it's not across the board. But like a lot of fight fans, you know, I happen to like some of the action-packed fighters. There's no question about that. Anyway, so good question though for the Gift Media. We have a couple other emails here I just want to get through. Jesse Perez says, "Hey Billy C. John Molina, who's his next opponent after his big win over Mickey Bay? I was thinking Burns versus Beltran winner." Or maybe DeMarco or Lundy. What do you think? First of all, Burns against Beltran winner. That's it. That's a good idea. You know, I could see him going there. I think no matter who he fights, it's going to be a major fight because of his experience level and because of the fact that he's challenged for a world title before, and the fact that anybody that fights him, even if it appears to be a mismatch, you know, the selling point is going to be, well, you know, you can never count this guy out, you know, just like what happened to Mickey Bay. I think I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a rematch with Antonio DeMarco. It was really the only fight in his whole career that he got blown out in, so we could possibly see that. Or if he did go like the Hammer and Hank Lundy route, maybe he goes an elimination bout for a title shot again. Either way, I think the win over Bay is going to get him something good. So great question there. My man, nobody here says, I don't know the numbers, but Cubans don't like Mexicans and vice versa, especially dark-skinned Cubans. It's a cultural thing that I didn't understand until I actually worked with Cubans. He says it goes deep. I highly doubt he pulls fans in from Mexico. Surely HBO knows this. I still agree with you. It's a big mistake for HBO. I said Hispanic, if that's what you're referring to. You know, just like Puerto Ricans and Mexicans don't get along. It's a big rivalry, or at least inside the ring they don't get along. But you know, last I knew, HBO wasn't a Mexican owned company. You know, I think it's them. I think it's a simple situation with Rigondeaux. He beat up their guy. Nonito Donaire is signed to a deal with HBO, and Rigondeaux didn't play the game, man. He beat him, you know, and he beat him bad. You know, so you know, despite the close scorecard, I don't think it was close. You know, so anyway, he goes on to say, I really think if Rigondeaux gets a couple of easy fights where he can showcase his skills and gets a persona that works for him, maybe he can borrow the Real Kid Chocolate's persona and modernize it. I truly hope he can be a big star in the sport. He says, I don't know, Golden Boy was a movie. Did Oscar get his name from there? Two different issues here. You know, why does he have to? He's talking about the original Kid Chocolate. You know, I think he has showcased enough talent on his own. But you know, I understand what you mean. But you know, the thing about him, what's hurting him here in the States, and what's hurting him with HBO is the fact that you know, he doesn't speak English that well. He's not in the front. You know, he's not marketable in terms of you know, being in the press. You know, it's like Gamboa. And I know he's another Cuban, but it's like Gamboa. You know, he's not really in front of the press, despite being with 50 Cent and all of that. You know, so you know. I just think it boils down to that situation. As far as the Golden Boy, you know, that not only was a movie and a play, but there was another Golden Boy. There was another original Golden Boy. Hey, listen, I'm going to take a short break. I'm going to try to wrap this. I'm going to try to fix this situation for Fight Now. They're desperately trying to connect, so I'll be back in 2.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
Broadcasting in all corners of the globe, on the web and radio.
He would scoff at a stretcher, that man, I
would think. You're listening to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. from upstate New York in the good old US of A.
Boxing is here to stay because we are here to stay.
The best 2 hours of boxing talk on the airwaves.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C, damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Test 1 2. My fellow Americans, good evening. Welcome back to Talking Boxing with Billy C. It's great to be here discussing the sweet science with everybody. I love boxing. I love talking boxing. It's what I do.
Bill.
Wait, what?
Bill.
Why are you interrupting me? Wait, what?
Wrong.
What's the problem?
Billy
What?
C.
I did not have...
We're gonna have to ask
wrong
you.
speech. What do you mean wrong, Billy C? What's going on here? Fine, I'll go. I just wanted to talk some boxing on TPSradio.net. That's all I wanted to do. I don't need your damn show. I'll get my own talking wrestling with the other Billy C. Yeah, that sounds good. I've always been a Hulkamaniac anyway.
Podcast in live, brother. Welcome back to Talking Boxing with Billy C. on the mighty TPSradio.net, brother. What you gonna do, brother?
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. Sorry about that unplanned break, but I'm trying to hook Fight Now TV up, but it looks like they're having some issues with their highly technical setup they got in here, and we'll see if they connect again. But my man, Given Quality, missed what happened. How I broke a tooth today. It's one of the back teeth. I went and got a haircut, as you could see, and I took one of the kids' lollipops. They got like this. It was a barber, like a real barber, a man's barber, and not like a one of those little salons, a girly salon, a place like Paulie Malignaggi would go to. No, I go to a man's barber, but I went in there and they have a basket in there. I guess they give it lollipops to the kids, and every time I get a haircut, I snag a lollipop. So I take a lollipop. And I unwrapped it. I'm getting in my car. I stick the lollipop in my mouth, and I was, sucking on the lollipop a bit. And then all of a sudden, I was like, "What the hell is that?" I felt like I had like a marble in my mouth. It was half of my tooth, man. I didn't chew on the thing or nothing. I don't even know how it happened, but it's killing me right now. Anyway, we got one more email, and this one's from Hawaii Mike, trademark. Hawaii Mike, and he says, "Let's get popping, man." When's that video coming out anyway? Rufus. When's that video coming out, man? You get everybody all jacked up, and then you're sitting around with your feet up on the desk. Get the video out. Come on now. Anyway, Hawaii Mike says, "Billy, I agree with your synopsis on Donaire. People are too quick to anoint fighters as being great. In truth, there are very, very, very few great fighters in the sport today. Very few. I got you. Marquez, Pacquiao, Mayweather, Hopkins, and Roy Jones Jr., as he's technically still active. Maybe I missed one. Don't think so, though. Maybe Ward in a few years, but not yet. Oh, don't forget BJ Flores." He says, "Of course, I'm joking." I like to use that word elite. And there aren't that many elite fighters. There's no question about that. There was an interesting article that I was going to try to get to yesterday, and it's great. This is a great segue to get to it now. But it had to do with boxing and nostalgia, and the fact that boxing is the only sport that really, gets hammered with this because it's subjective. It says any discussion. I'm just going to read some clips out of here. It says they said any discussion about the fight game is really a discussion about the past, and all arguments are really just variations on the barbershop scene in Coming to America. And I had a chuckle, and that's what hooked me on this article because I agree with that 100%. They made another point. They said many boxing fans have at least one eye on the rearview mirror. Fans and journalists are forever working on their lists of all-time greats, sharing archived fights, and discussing the significance of various eras, which is 100% true. We do it here on this show. I want to write, the most obvious manifestation of boxing's obsession with the past is the old barbershop, bar, gym, chestnut, would X beat X? And I mean, I had a chuckle because we talk about that all the time. Would Mayweather beat Sugar Ray Leonard? Would Vlad Klitschko beat Muhammad Ali, etc., etc.? Tennis fans don't go around whether they go on about whether John McEnroe would have beaten Roger Federer. And then the author writes, possibly because the answer is obvious. See, not to me, because I'm not a big tennis fan, so I don't know. I would think McEnroe would be better, but athleticism might favor Federer. And I don't watch men's tennis. I happen to enjoy women's tennis. If I'm going to watch tennis at all, I want to watch the hotties. That's it. He says, but then again, tennis has changed, and Federer is a entirely different animal. What do you mean it hit the line? What do you mean? That's McEnroe. He also says other sports have statistics. Now, who always tells you that, huh? He says other sports have statistics. He said it's hard to argue Nolan Ryan's fastest pitch in history or Babe Ruth's 714 home runs, etc. He says boxing, on the other hand, is subjective. And it hasn't changed, not much anyway. Maybe the gloves are a bit thicker and the athletes train a little differently. But two guys punching each other in the head are still two guys punching each other in the head. In a lot of ways, it's easier to imagine Federer and McEnroe duking it out in the ring than it is to imagine them on the court together. The same goes for Ruth and Nolan Ryan. It's a lot more fun, too, hence the appeal. Going to say, then there's the problem of boxing's irregular timetable. Weeks and months go by without a major fight. Fans have to find something to do, and imagining Manny Pacquiao fighting Roberto Duran fits that bill. Boxing fans like to take a trip down memory lane. That much is clear. The question is whether that's a problem. Some fans won't hesitate to call you out on that. Boxing's shrunken fan base is aging. It's true. And perhaps, thanks to social media, more impassioned. The typical fan today is more enthusiastic, more of a boxing nerd than the typical fan 30 years ago. That's great because it can also make the sport less approachable, which I think is a pretty good point here. Is the fact that us diehard boxing fans, get so deep into these discussions that the marginal fan just doesn't want to get involved. When a guy like Given Quality has all the facts about who, and he starts talking. I mean, could you see someone getting turned away when we're talking about is one fighter all the time? I think this author makes a great point there. And I'm not meaning. I'm just using him as an example because we all know Given Quality. He says, but some fans take pleasure in flaunting their knowledge of fighters from the past, suggesting that those who aren't as interested aren't real fans. Now, this must have came right out of the notepad of Alex Papali, because that's his view about boxing fans. He says, I mean, if you don't have Bob Fitzsimmons, a fighter who died in 1917, and whom scant footage exists in your top 10 greatest fighters of all time, then you don't know anything about boxing. And that's a great point. It's kind of along the lines of what we talked about last week. He says, today, luckily, that type of fan is rare. My question, is it? It seems like we have more we have less overall boxing fans, but more fans that are diehard boxing fans. It seems that when I talk to a boxing fan and we start talking about boxing, of course, they're either going to say they're a fan and they're on to, up to date on everything, or they're going to say they used to be a fan and the last time they watched was when Mike Tyson. And in conclusion, they said it's a sport that finds itself looking back to bygone errors, perhaps understandably, but it doesn't need to be done in a way that turns people off. Boxing continuity means fights from the past are timeless and rewatchable in a sense that other sports like football and baseball aren't, which is 100% true. I enjoyed that article, and if you have a chance, if you want to search it and read the whole thing on yourself, the title is called "Does Boxing Have a Nostalgia Problem?" If you do a search, check it out. It might interest you. It definitely interested me. In Japan today, or yesterday, or whatever, I'm going to say today because it was on Tuesday, even though it's Wednesday in Japan. WBA bantamweight champion Koki Kamada improved to 31-1 with 17 knockouts, retaining his belt against John Mark Aplanaro, who drops to 17 wins, 3 losses, and a couple of draws, with 4 of his wins coming by knockout. Aplanaro got floored not once but twice, one time in the eighth round, and then again in the 12th, where he took, what they're calling mandatory 8 counts, but, the referee counts to 8 and lets him continue. The fight did go to the scorecards. He did end up on his feet, and the way the judges scored it, 117-109, 118-108, 119-117, all in favor of Koki Kamada. And also on the undercard in the female title fight, which is for the WBA female minimum weight or strawweight belt. The title changed hands. Challenger Annabelle Ortiz improved to 15-3 with 5 knockouts and took the title from former champion Estuco Tada with a 10-round decision. Now, it was a split decision, and many people ringside felt that the decision was not justified. 2 of the judges scored it 96-94 for Annabelle Ortiz, and the third had it 97-93 in favor of Tada. Bottom line, when you looked at these 2 fighters at the end of the fight, Tada, who lost, looked like she won. She didn't have a scratch on her, and Ortiz was kind of busted up. Now, the promoter, who is Kamada Promotions, has promised a rematch, so we'll see what happens there. The official press tour was kicked off today for Manny Pacquiao and Bam Bam Rios, or at least they announced the press tour today. The first one will be taking place on Saturday, and like the Mayweather Canelo Alvarez press tour, this one's going to cover a bunch of cities, except the difference here is this is going around the world. 23,722 miles is where these guys are going to be traveling. To give you an idea where they're going for the Pacquiao Rios media tour, on Saturday, this Saturday, it's going to be in the Venetian in China, where the fight will be held. And then Monday, the 29th, they're going to be in Beijing, China. On Tuesday, they'll be also in Beijing at the Park Hyatt. On Wednesday, they're going to be in Shanghai at the Four Seasons Hotel. On Saturday, August 3rd, there's a big private event that's taking place at the Marina Bay Sands Resort in Singapore. And then they're going to be leaving China on August 5th. They will be at ESPN in Bristol, Connecticut. They follow that. Tuesday, August 6th, they'll be in New York City at Zhang Fang Restaurant on 20 Elizabeth Street in Manhattan. And then they close out their tour on August 8th in L.A., at the Beverly Hills Hotel. So that's where they're touring. And it seems like they're spending a lot of time in China, which makes sense. That's where the fight's going to be. So we'll have to wait and see. Now, I'm going to take a short break. when I come back, we got some discussion on Miguel Cotto and Delvin Rodriguez, which was made official today. Carl Froch and George Groves also made official. Nathan Cleverly's talking some smack about his fight with Sergey Kovalev. I think he ought to tone it down a bit, and I'll tell you why. Dord Yordan is calling out Yuriorkis Gamboa. My man Giovanni Segura is getting back in the ring in August. I'll tell you who he's fighting. Rafael Marquez, Marquez, the brother of Juan Manuel Marquez. He just signed a multi-fight deal. I'll tell you all about that. And my girl Holly Holm, who retired from boxing. She's in MMA. She made her debut over the weekend on her new network or whatever it is. I'll tell you about that. And even though we don't talk that much about UFC, or I should say MMA, it's not UFC, but MMA. But I'll talk about that. And what's so impressive about this particular fight, and how many MMA fights she's got under her belt. So I'll talk about all of that. And we may even open up the phone lines. All of that's coming up in about 2.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. now has official merchandise available on TalkinBoxing.com. T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, and mugs. And yes, even undergarments. Talkin' Boxing apparel is the perfect gift for the boxing fan in your life. Log on to www.talkinboxing.com. That's TalkinBoxing.com and place your order today.
Join us here for 2 hours as Billy and the gang do what they do best.
Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got to pull Rocky Marciano out their ass. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't.
It's Joe Louis's ass.
Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought.
Huh? What?
We're supposed to be talking boxing.
It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
As Billy C sits here in the multi-million-dollar Talkin' Boxing Studios, sipping a fine wine before you're even out of bed, you should be thinking, damn, I wish I had a mustache like his. It's the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C show. He's Billy C, and you're not. Sucks to be you.
Now let's dig into our archives and hear a rare interview when Billy C first became the champion of boxing talk radio. Hello, Billy C. As the new champ, can we ask you a few questions?
Why, certainly.
Okay, your fans would like to know how you and your corner have successfully walloped the competition.
We're not ordinary people. We're morons.
Anything else?
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Did your success finally come when you made the show 5 days a week for 2 hours? What do you think?
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Now, please tell the listeners what you've learned from making it this far.
Certainly. If at first you don't succeed, keep on sucking till you do succeed.
Great words of wisdom, Billy C. Keep up the great work as the undisputed People's Champion with your show, Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Any last words to anyone who's listening?
This is your fault, you bonehead.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. Normally you're watching it on Fight Now TV, but you're not today because you're watching something, but you're not watching this show. I'll tell you that. They're having some technical problems that I tried to fix for them, but it looks like it's a line issue and not us. So anyway. The Bucks started a conversation in the chat room. Some early predictions on Danny Garcia versus Lucas Matisse, and I guess it's split. And I agree that Danny Garcia has boxing ability. I've been following Danny Garcia since he turned pro with Shelly Finkel, and he's been on all these big fight cards on the undercard. But in his last few fights, Angel Garcia certainly has got a lot of muscles for himself, for his son. And I think that he's going to try to prove a point that his son can be a knockout puncher, and I think he's going to regret it against Matisse. But anyway, whatever. Given quality, there's no talking to him. Even when you bring up a case, I mean, a good debate, you have to be somewhat open-minded, right? I mean, listen, nobody's more stubborn than me, but I'm open-minded at times. Ask Alex Papali, he'll tell you. I'm open-minded at times. But given quality, you just don't get it, man. He thinks, whatever. Miguel Cotto, Delvin Rodriguez has been made official. We knew that they announced that Cotto was going to be fighting in Orlando. First time in Florida, by the way. But we didn't know exactly who. And I had predicted as soon as they were throwing some names, and Delvin Rodriguez was one of those names, I knew damn well that that he was going to be the guy, because he's the one that makes the most sense. He's the one that makes the most sense for Miguel Cotto, because they're looking for a win. And I'm not suggesting that that Delvin is an easy out, but I think that he's a perfect opponent for Miguel Cotto. He's going to come at Miguel, and he's going to try to outbox Miguel, and then Miguel's going to get inside and land some punches, and then that's when Delvin will switch gears and try to go toe-to-toe with Miguel Cotto. As a matter of fact, one of his quotes at the press conference was, he says, "I'm going to go in there for the knockout." He says, "I will take advantage of this biggest opportunity of my life." And Cotto says, "I'm very happy to be back in October and fight in front of all the great fans of Orlando, Florida. And by the way, I'm taking my kids to Disney World." You pick Orlando for a fight. I mean, what's your ulterior motive, huh? Disney World. I'm going to Disney. Hey, Miguel Cotto, you just knocked out Delvin Rodriguez. What are you going to do now? I'm going to Disney World. Yeah, okay. Interesting. Between the two of these guys, they have a combined record of 65 wins, 10 losses, and 3 draws. 46 coming by knockout with an 83% winning percentage. Correct me if I'm wrong, but James Toney and what's his name, Glenn Johnson, probably have a 65-10 record, pretty close to themselves, without combining it with anybody. So that's just a little PR for Top Rank, because Top Rank's involved with this one, as well as Star Boxing and Tecante and Cotto Promotions and all that stuff. Earlier, we had an email that asked me what I thought about Carl Froch and George Groves. Well, it has been made official. These guys are going to be fighting over the winter. And we don't know what the date is or where the location is, but they are going to be fighting. I find this strange, to be honest with you. Not the fight, but I find it strange that this is the fight that Team Froch decides to take. Don't forget, Carl Froch has both the IBF and WBA World Super Middleweight titles right now, and he'll put them both on the line against George Groves. I don't understand it. I mean, I can't imagine that he's going to make more money fighting George Groves someplace in England than he could to come over here and or even have Bernard Hopkins go over there, or fight an Andre Ward or a Triple G on HBO. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. They Call Me Bruce. Remember the old movie from the late 80s? I just don't get it. But I don't know, man. I really think that it was bad business. Bad business move from Team Froch, And you got to say to yourself, what's the deal? Where's the best interest in Eddie Hearn? What's the deal there? I don't know. I think that I think that the bottom line is that there was a lot of fights out there. There was a lot more fights for Carl Froch. I mean, off the top of my head, if you look at the super middleweight division, and you got Carl Froch. I mean, Andre Ward. They were talking about a rematch there. You knew that he wasn't going to fight Butte. He could have went after Stiglitz. He could fight Kessler again. That fight's never going to get old. Edwin Rodriguez. What's wrong with that fight? George Groves' fight is not going to go anywhere. I don't know. Another interesting thing coming out of England is Nathan Cleverly. Nathan Cleverly says that now this could be the old, I'm going to tell them this and I'm going to do that plan, But Nathan Cleverly said, and I quote, "I'm going to go toe to toe with Kovalev, and I'm going for the knockout." What a stupid game plan. Why would a fighter, want to go and fight his or her opponent in their best, with their game? You know what I'm saying? I mean, Nathan Cleverly's undefeated. The knock on Nathan Cleverly is, who the hell has he fought? Sergey Kovalev is also undefeated. He's 21-0. He's got a draw. He's got 19 knockouts. Which incidentally 7 more knockouts than Nathan Cleverly, even though he's 26-0. So you would assume that Kovalev has a little more pop behind his punches. But here's the thing. I've seen Nathan Cleverly fight. And yeah, he's got some power. He's a good boxer. He can box. He's big. He's tall. But the thing about Kovalev, every single punch he throws, you hear. They thud, and they even putting his gloves on, they look like you could knock somebody out if you got in the way. Why do you want to stand in front of a guy like that? Why do you want to do that? He claims that, he's the prince of the 175-pound division. He's a WBO champion. He says the only other guy I see as any kind of a challenge is Bernard Hopkins, Adonis Stevens, Bebot Shumanov. He says, but none of those guys could beat me either. Kovalev could knock out any one of those names. Adonis Stevenson is a super middleweight that all of a sudden found himself as a light heavyweight. Cleverly isn't too clever. This is a guy that's backed out of fights, that wasn't able to fight a couple of times, and now he's going to go toe-to-toe with arguably one of the hardest punches. You mentioned Bernard Hopkins, Adonis Stevenson, Bebot Shumanov. Bebot Shumanov is the guy that nobody wants to fight because he's got a little bit of everything. He's got power. He's got some boxing ability. He's got a good chin. Nobody wants to fight him. Adonis Stevenson's got pop, but he's old, and he's also moving up in weight. Bernard Hopkins, he doesn't have much of anything except, his old, his ability to, make you do things that he wants you to do. He's slick, Cleverly's making a mistake, man. I think Cleverly's making a mistake. But anyway, another guy that's making a mistake is Dord Yordan. Yordan just won the IBO lightweight belt. Moving up not one but two weight classes. He's improved to 36 wins. 31 wins, 3 losses, and 23 of those wins coming by knockout. And he wants to make a world title defense of his IBO belt against my man Yuriorkis Gamboa. I don't know, man. I think he's feeling. Pretty tough. I think he's feeling awfully tough to be calling out a guy like Gamboa. Maybe he should be considering looking for another opponent. Not so much Gamboa. He's also. He says he's looking for Gamboa because he feels that Gamboa is one of the biggest names in that division, and he wants to prove his point. Up until this upset that he had when he beat Daniel Brazula recently. The only other fight that really, he came in. I mean, he beat James Kirk. Was it him that beat? Didn't he? One of these guys? Oh no, it was Nishiro. That's right. But he did beat somebody else. He did. Oh, I know what it was. I'm thinking of the fight that he had with Robert Degos Guerrero, and Robert Degos Guerrero, complained about that little cut. I can't see, and the fight was canceled. But no contest or whatever. But I don't know, man. You sometimes you got to be careful what you're asking for. You might be getting it. You might be getting it. Another guy that's getting it, that's asking for it, is right now in the flyweight division. Puerto Rican fighter Jonathan, they call him Bamba Gonzalez, is only 22 years old, and he's only got 13 fights under his belt. He's 13-0 with 11 knockouts. Now, who's he fighting next? How about on August 17th, he's fighting my man, Giovanni Segura. Segura is one of my favorite fighters that are active today. His record, 29-3-1. And, Gonzalez says that he's looking forward to this fight because he wants to avenge the 2 knockout losses that Puerto Rican fighter and future Hall of Famer Ivan Iron Boy Calderon lost to. So at the hands of Giovanni Segura, Jonathan Gonzalez is going to go right the ship for Puerto Rico. What a mistake, man. Giovanni Segura is a badass for that weight class. I don't know, man. Segura is 31 years old. He took some time off. He got back a win. He did lose against Edgar Socha back in May. It was a unanimous decision loss, but Socha outboxed him. This is a tough fight. This is an extremely tough fight for Gonzalez, and I'm surprised that his people are letting him fight Giovanni Segura. I really am. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Another bit of news that's kind of got me a little shocked, to be honest with you, is Rafael Marquez signing a not 1, not 2, but 4-fight deal with Golden Boy. Yeah, they signed a 4-fight deal with Golden Boy, and this guy, he's all but finished. I mean, he had a back out. He was trying to make a couple of comeback fights. He had a back out of him. And, what bothers me the most is listen to the statement from Richard Schaefer from Golden Boy. He says, "We'd like to give him a comeback fight and see how he does. Then we'll give him a few fights and we'll eventually match him with a Leo Santa Cruz or an Abner Mares. Rafael Marquez is a good name, and he has always made good fights. We have some potential fights for him." In case Marquez isn't reading between the lines, come on, man. What are they saying here? It's pretty obvious what they're saying. They're saying that they want to feed him to Leo Santa Cruz and Abner Mares. A 4-fight deal. They're going to give him a comeback fight. He's going to look good. Maybe they give him another comeback fight, and they're immediately going to feed him to Santa Cruz and then Abner Mares, or maybe Abner Mares and then Santa Cruz. I don't know. But I don't know if it's a smart deal. He must need the money. He certainly had some great fights in his past. Of course, the Israel Vasquez fights. But anyway, speaking of great, joining us right now, my man Alex Papali. What's up, man?
Hey, Billy C. How you doing?
I've been
about Rafael Marquez.
Yeah, Rafael Marquez signing with Golden Boy, 4-fight deal. Pretty much, Golden Boy is bringing him on board to be an opponent for either Leo Santa Cruz or Abner Mares. It just shocks me because, like you, I know you liked Rafael Marquez, and so did I. I mean, these guys just don't know when to say when. You wonder if he really needs the money or what. He can't be thinking that Golden Boy's bringing him on to help him out. They got to feed somebody to their champions, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, that is. That is the way of things. I mean, it is sad, especially when you see, a past great who is in that role, but like Marquez certainly is. But it is the path, that most of the arc that most of these guys go through. He's definitely on the downslide, and like you said, he had those wars with Vasquez, which were absolutely spectacular. I think he's in a position where he, ought to think about calling it a career. And it is sad to see him on, make a deal like that, because it certainly does seem like that's what he's going to end up being, is B-side of some of those young tigers.
The funny thing is, I thought he already did call it a career. He hasn't fought in a couple of years. I know he was scheduled, but he broke his thumb. Then he had another injury that kept him out. So, hey, speaking of...
And he lost to Juan Lopez, and we saw how, he's wound up. So to think, I wonder how much he has left.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. He must need money. It has to be. Hey, Alex, we lost a Hall of Famer today in Emil Griffith. I know you got to see him a couple of times up at the Hall of Fame. Do you have any thoughts on that loss and what it means to the boxing community?
Oh, yeah, just very sad, and then just another one of these great guys from the past who, was... it was definitely a different era, the 15-round fights, undisputed championships. He was a great champion and a multi-division champion, welterweight, junior middleweight, and middleweight, and also just a very classy guy. There's that tremendous documentary they made a couple of years ago about him and the tragic rivalry with Benny Kid Paret. Then of course after his career, coming out as a gay man, and he was a pioneer in a lot of ways, and he will be missed.
One of the classic lines in my man Ron Russ's book, 8, 9, 10 You're Out, was Emil Griffith was quoted as saying, "I kill a man and people forgive me. I love a man and they never forgive," or something along those lines. It was something like that, which is pretty strong line when you think about it, and it's kind of true in the sport of boxing. Yeah. At least it was during his era. I know things are definitely changing now, but I'm glad you called, because I wanted to ask you your thoughts on Delvin Rodriguez fighting Miguel Cotto. I know you've seen Delvin a bunch of times. He's a Connecticut guy, and he's getting a really good opportunity against Miguel Cotto. The fight's going to be October 5th down in Florida, in Orlando. And Delvin Rodriguez, we've both seen him live a bunch of times. And, he's always been an exciting, and I don't mean this in any disrespect to Delvin because I like him so much, but he's always been an exciting ESPN-level fighter. Who could forget the two wars that he had with Paulie Woloch? The truth of the matter is that he seems, that next level guy always gives him trouble, or himself. He gives himself trouble because of his inconsistency. How do you see him against a guy like Miguel Cotto, who desperately needs to get another win to get him a huge payday? And Delvin Rodriguez seems perfect for Miguel Cotto.
Yeah, I think he's perfect for the Miguel Cotto that we knew was there maybe 2 years ago. I'm not sure what is left now. I think Delvin is a little dangerous for Cotto now. Or let's put it this way: if he doesn't look good against Delvin Rodriguez, it's over.
For Cotto,
or it should be over.
Yeah.
That said, I think this is a fight that, because I do think Cotto is way past his prime and on his way, in the downslide. I think this is a huge opportunity for Delvin Rodriguez. I like it very much for him. I'm really disappointed it's not up here in the Northeast somewhere, that they're going to Florida. I guess Orlando they're talking about. But because I would have loved to see that either in Connecticut or at Madison Square Garden. But I think that Delvin, I think he has a pretty good shot. I mean, I think Cotto's skills have eroded. I would give the edge in size a little bit to Rodriguez, both in weight and definitely in height. He's almost 3 inches taller, and I think he's got 3 inches on him in reach. He fights tall, but like you said, he does mix it up. Skills you definitely got to go with Cotto, but the Cotto of today, I'm not sure we know how much is left.
Miguel Cotto is a fighter that, in my opinion, looked good against Mayweather, and whether it was a bad night for Floyd or what, he kind of looked good in a one-sided loss. I mean, the only person that felt that he won that fight was Miguel Cotto. He obviously followed that up with another loss, so he's actually back-to-back losses. Delvin Rodriguez, if he boxes Miguel, I think he can beat him because Miguel Cotto is kind of one-dimensional. But Delvin has such a bad habit of exchanging with his opponents if they want to exchange with him, and that's Miguel's game. And I think if Delvin comes into this fight with the attitude that he appears to already have, he said, and I quote, "I'm going for the knockout. I want to take advantage of the biggest opportunity of my life." Why would you not just go for the win? The opportunity is to win the fight. He doesn't have to win by knockout. I think Miguel Cotto, should he get by this fight with Delvin and look pretty good, he's a potential opponent for the winner of Alvarez Mayweather. I mean, because people do think that Mayweather didn't look that great against him. Should Alvarez get by, I mean, who else is left for either one of these guys,
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's what he's hoping, that if he looks really good, that, he could springboard himself back into that, throw his name up in there as a potential opponent for the winner. I don't know. I mean, I thought Trout beat him pretty easily, or pretty convincingly. I guess I didn't have that fight all that close, and I thought that same deal with Mayweather. I don't know. I mean, I really think, like I said, I really like Rodriguez's chances. I do think that Cotto, I don't know. I mean, I think that Cotto has a little bit better boxing skill than Rodriguez, but I think if Cotto tries to sort of grind him out the way he used to when he was younger, that could be problems for him because of the size and strength of Rodriguez. I'm not sure that I really do think that he has an advantage in that sense, and I do think that Cotto's a little shop worn, and that there is a window that maybe Rodriguez could exploit that. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I kind of think the edge in strength and power goes to Rodriguez.
Huh? That's interesting. Interesting that you feel that way. I do agree with you that if Cotto loses to Rodriguez, it's pretty much over for him. And what an opportunity for Delvin, because he would talk about an opportunity. I don't know what kind of dollars are being tossed around for this fight. I've heard nothing to suggest any kind of amount of money, but you would think that Delvin Rodriguez came cheaper than some of these other names. It is a co-promotion between Miguel Cotto's Cotto Promotions and Top Rank in association with Joe DeGuardia, Star Boxing. So when you add those three names together, there mustn't be that much money involved. So we'll have to wait and see, I guess. I don't know. You know what? I think you're right. Maybe it is more interesting and a tougher fight than I was initially giving it credit for.
I really think it's going to be a fun one to watch because I think both guys have to look good, and I think in a situation like that, both guys are going to really try to achieve. They're both guys who are dependable to look good. I mean, neither one of these guys stinks it out, like you said. I mean, Rodriguez had those two tremendous fights with Wallach, And, of course, Cotto has had great fights with Zab Judah, with Shane Mosley, with Margarito. He's had so many great fights. So, of course, I think the potential for a really good action fight is there.
Let me ask you a quick. Let's jump to something else. Manny Pacquiao and Bam Bam Rios. They're starting their press tour in a couple of weeks. I guess Saturday, actually, not a couple of weeks. They're starting it on Saturday to start promoting their fight that they're going to have. And they're not fighting until November. But one of my things here is, we got the big fight between Floyd Mayweather and Saul Canelo Alvarez coming up, and we've talked a lot about that so far. The discussion that we see is kind of split. Some people think that Canelo actually has a chance and all this stuff. And I started thinking today when I got the press release that, they're starting their media tour for Pacquiao Rios, and we've touched on this before. But, I honestly think that Manny Pacquiao against Bam Bam Rios is going to be a way more entertaining fight. I mean, before either bell even sounds, and not taking any credit away from Floyd or Saul Alvarez, and not trying to put, extra credit on Bam Bam Rios or Manny Pacquiao. I mean, it just appears to me, based on what we've seen between all these four fighters, that Pacquiao Rios is going to be an entertaining fight. I mean, more so than Mayweather Canelo. What do you think?
Oh, I totally agree. I think the only way it couldn't is if something like a headbutt or something interrupted it, very early. But I think that in terms of the style matchup, Pacquiao Rios is going to be a thriller, and I think that Garcia Matisse on the undercard. I think Garcia Matisse is going to steal the show that night of Canelo versus Money. I mean, I think Canelo Money is going to be an interesting fight, and I think it might have some moments of excitement, but I don't see it as being a thriller. I'm pretty confident that Mayweather is going to outbox him and outbox him handily. And then there won't be the exchanges like Garcia Matisse will have, and I think that's what Pacquiao Rios will be full of. I mean, Rios has no other gear but forward, and he has no other sort of punching speed but on. He just starts throwing. So. And we know Manny Pacquiao is always guaranteed to throw, so that's going to be a good action fight as well.
You're right about Matisse and Danny Garcia, and the funny thing about it, and this is what kills me, and it was sort of like along the lines of the Rafael Marquez signing with Golden Boy. Golden Boy has this, a lot of boxing fans has this misconception about Golden Boy Promotions and that they're better for the fighters and they care about their fighters and everything else. And I think that's such a crock of baloney, and I think Rafael Marquez is a great example of that. They're bringing him on to get beat up. And then you look at this, and they were saying in the press, well, we decided to pay back the fans for all their support, so we're giving them. We didn't have to give it to them because the fight's already sold out, but we're giving them Matisse, Danny Garcia on the undercard. And I think you just hit it on the head. They're putting that fight on the card so that when Saul Alvarez against Mayweather becomes the stinker that you and I believe it's going to be, because Mayweather's going to outbox him so easily, that at least they're going to have another fight that they still can feel that they didn't get ripped off over, when they spend that $60-$70 for the pay-per-view or $100 for closed circuit seats and the rest. So I think that's the real reason they wanted to bring Matisse, Danny Garcia to that fight. Yeah,
I think that you do have a point there, that there was a little bit of CYA, as they say, they didn't want, and especially today, because with social media, people could make it extremely uncomfortable for any company in the immediate aftermath of something like that. Say Canelo Money is a stinker, the Twitterverse and Facebook and Instagram, all those things would be ablaze with, I can't believe I just spent $75 on that. If the fight before it is a barn burner, people might be like, boy, the main event stunk, but can you believe that other fight? So, yeah, I think in that sense, in a business sense, they certainly did protect themselves. But I don't think anyone at that table there of Leonard Ellerbe, Richard Schaefer, I don't think any of them want to admit that Canelo, Mayweather will ever be like that. I think in the sense of like a corporate decision, like the Richard Schaefer of the room would be like, yeah, let's play it safe. But he probably thinks that all the time. I really think that these guys know that this is a huge event, and I'm not sure how much they really care if the fight's not thrilling. They know that there's a tremendous market that just loves these events. So whether the fight's boring or not, that's who they seem to be marketing for. At least that's the way I get that feeling from the latest you hear from Golden Boy and from Mayweather. They really don't care if you didn't like the fight, as long as the event, the magnitude of the event was worth it.
Yeah, well, like I said, they're bragging about how it was sold out already, and they're breaking all kinds of records and all this stuff. So why put the fight on? Matisse Danny Garcia is a great fight in its own right. It could be a cable fight main event. So
it is. I mean, they claim the way they're saying it, they're doing it because Floyd wants to reinvigorate boxing and make boxing a mainstream sport, and that this is the way to do it, to put, because if you think about it, if Matisse or Garcia have a real stellar win, well, then you've generated buzz for a next opponent for the winner of Canelo money, because then you say, well, wait a minute, everybody who paid for this saw that guy win spectacularly. How about him against the winner? So there is that part of the marketing built in as well.
Yeah, but don't forget, Floyd doesn't fight fighters that have a chance against him. He doesn't. I mean, Floyd will not take a chance.
He does if they're two divisions below.
True. That's a whole nother situation. He would only fight him if he's bigger, he's got an advantage. The same guy who says he doesn't believe in catch weights, and next thing you know, and all the Mayweather fans are like, oh, he's such a small guy, poor Floyd. Come on, man, come on. Anyway, back to the original point. Manny Pacquiao, Bam Bam Rios. A lot of we both agree that you don't even have to think twice. It's going to be a more exciting fight. But what bothers me is that people that don't give Mayweather any credit. Give Manny Pacquiao any credit. To me, he takes more of a risk. He takes more challenges. You could say that both he and Mayweather, are parallel in a sense where, they try to take calculated risks. They take a guy coming off a loss, or they take a guy that's smaller than him, or whatever the case is. But I do believe that Manny does take more chances in the ring, which is evident that he got knocked out cold, I think that makes the excitement. There's an if factor. There is a chance that Bam Bam Rios knocks him out. I mean, it's not a layup that Manny's going to win this fight.
Yeah, I think that there's right, because of his style of fighting, he does take more risks. So Rios certainly has a chance, and I do think, again, just like Rodriguez, I think Rios, even though Manny's been the welterweight for longer, I think Rios might be the naturally bigger guy. I'll be looking forward to seeing them, face off. You said the first presser starts because when you see them standing next to each other, for the first time, then you get a much better idea. Oh, wow, he is bigger, or oh, he is smaller, that kind of thing. But yeah, I think the potentiality for a Rios win is there. And especially, I think there's the bigger question mark because of Pacquiao's last fight.
Yeah, well, you could argue that point too because he was looking good, and then you got clowns like GQ saying, "Oh yeah, he must have been on the juice because he looked good." Never want to give him any credit. He made a mistake. I'm not a big Freddie Roach fan much anymore at all, but I think what he said made sense. He said, "Hey, he takes chances, and he made a mistake, and he got knocked out. End of story, and." What else can you say? How many more excuses can you make,
Right, that's true.
I don't know, man. I'm looking forward to that. There's a lot of good fights coming up down the pike. We got some good ones, I know. Now, did you get a chance to see the Chisora knockout?
No, I still haven't watched it.
Oh.
I found a link to it that I am going to watch, but yeah, I've been doing home repairs, and I had some car problems, and I was, and then I got your email earlier. I was just going to switch into boxing mode this evening, but then I got your email.
Oh man,
I hear about that, man. That's a bummer.
Yeah, I'm dying right now. My mouth. It was such a fluke thing. You should see the size of the chunk of the tooth too. It's like half of a molar, man. It just broke off. I had a lollipop in my mouth. I didn't even chew on it or anything, and it just fell out. And it's like, oh man. I guess that's what you get for getting old, But when you get
like those old commercials. I remember when I was a kid. There of the
Tootsie
Pop. How
Pop?
many licks does it take to get to the center of the Tootsie Pop?
1, 2, 3, 3.
How many does it take to break a tooth?
Yeah, none. I had just unwrapped it and stuck it in my mouth, and all of a sudden I'm like, take a suck off the lollipop, and I'm like, what the hell's in my mouth? It felt like a little pebble, it was my tooth. But anyway, well, listen. When you watch that, Chisora fight, what you're going to see is there's big controversy right now.
Yes, I've read a lot about it, and I've heard the tweets, and I heard what you were saying yesterday, and it does seem that the controversy is whether you feel 9 equals 10 or not.
Well, here's the thing, and I'll tell you what I saw, and then you can evaluate it, and then give me your thoughts next time we were on. But it was a weird kind of a fight, and Chisora, you've seen him fight, and obviously the fight that Glasgow and Scott fought, you saw that, you saw the style that Scott fights and everything, and Chisora was landing some shots. I mean, nothing was super spectacular or anything like that. But in the round that it ended, Chisora landed a great shot that put Malik Scott down. It was a clubbing blow that put him down. And, he knew that he was knocked down, so it wasn't like he was trying to argue that he slipped and it wasn't a knockdown or that it was a foul or something like that, because that was, I also heard, he hit him behind the head and all this, but it didn't. He hit him, it was a chopping blow. And
he was
what
clearly hurt.
Well,
was he hurt
the thing is that he wasn't really hurt. It didn't appear that way. And he crashed to the canvas, and then as soon as the referee waved Chisora to the neutral corner, by the time he walked and leaned over and started to pick up the count, which was already at 5 or 6, Malik Scott was on one knee, looking clearly at the ref. And, for all intent purposes, it looked like he would jump up at the count of 8. And the referee was counting in front of him with his hands. Wait till you see the replay, and he's going like 6, 7 with his fingers, and I mean, there's no question where the count is, and he gets to 8, right? And Chisora's still on his knee. He's still on his knee by the time he got to 8, and he goes 9, and when he gets to 9, Scott was still on his knee. When he gets to 9, Scott starts to rise up, and before he said 10, he waved it off, which I think that it's nobody's fault but Malik Scott, because every trainer tells you if you have the wherewithal, if you get stunned or something, to stay down and take a 7 or an 8 count, and then you get up and you show the referee you're okay, your gloves are ready, you respond to him, he tells you to take a step forward. And Malik Scott didn't. He waited till 9. And I think that the interpretation was, he got to 9, and by the time he was rising, he got to 10. He's out, and I agree he didn't look hurt, but I don't know if you can really blame the ref. I think if anybody gets blamed, it's going to be Malik Scott.
Well, I'll have to check it out, but I do think I think the only thing I would disagree with is that although you're absolutely right that every trainer does instill in a fighter from when you first start to take the mandatory 8 count, but get up at 8.
Just so this doesn't happen. This is the reason.
Right.
The reason
But at the same time, you are allowed 10 seconds. You're not allowed 9 seconds.
You're allowed a 10 count. A 10 count.
If the guy didn't get to 10, you're up.
But here's the thing. This could be the argument. I'm playing devil's advocate here. Listen, I think Malik Scott did not look hurt from television. I watched it on actually I watched it on the stream. So he didn't look hurt to me. All right, but you could also get to the point where when you see the replay, you'll see that the referee was using his fingers. He's saying 7, 8, and he's using his fingers, 9, and then what's he supposed to do? Go 10 and then say you're out? He might have said 9 and then 10 was the wave, was you're out. And it's a 10 count. It's not 10 seconds. So I think that really, I'm curious to get your thoughts when you watch the replay. I think it's more Malik Scott's fault for staying on his knee too long. I really do. And then you have the other issue, and we've talked about this before, when a referee is counting and that fighter starts to rise, they have a tendency, I don't know if it's human nature, I don't know if it's just, your adrenaline's flowing or what, they have a tendency to speed up that count. I mean, I've seen it a lot of times where a referee is, the guy's laying on the ground, and he's like, he's like 5, 6, and as he's crawling up, it's like 7, 8, 9, 10. I mean, it's just like they're counting as he's rising, and that again could have been taken in. Listen, if he wasn't hurt, he could have gotten up at 7. He would have gotten that extra count anyway to 8. And I really think that in a nutshell, it was. I don't know. You check it out and let me know.
Definitely, yeah. We could talk about it next week.
But did you see the Friday night fight?
No, I still haven't even seen that.
No, that was another one that
I saw the first one, the Polish Prince. I saw that knockout.
Listen, I'll give him credit. That was a beautiful knockout. But aside from that kid shows me nothing. I said this last week. If you like a boxer, the people that like a Floyd Mayweather style, that's one thing. He's got some speed. He darts in and darts out and runs and, handpicks his opponents and fights all the weaker guys and all of that stuff. If you like that kind of thing, fine. But this guy, the Polish Prince, I mean, he was just on his bicycle. He was doing a bad impression of Paulie Malignaggi, for God's sakes, And but then he crushes this kid with a knockout, and everything else is forgotten. But I can't see the Polish Prince going anywhere, honestly.
No, it does seem as if that he's a bit limited. But I mean, I think he is. The kind of thing that he might make for some pretty good Friday Night Fights type of co-features, and maybe eventually get to fighting a main. That's a ways away. He delivered at least with the knockout. You got to say that.
Exactly.
And it was in that final moment. It was a case where, when you watch the replay, the guy throwing the really wide shot, the guy throwing the shorter punch inside that arc of the wide shot, he's got there first.
Yeah.
And when it did, it did.
You know, the funny thing about it, when I was breaking down that fight, and I looked at that opponent, 11-0, 11 knockouts. That's what they're bragging that the Polish Prince was fighting. But none of those. I think out of 11 wins and 11 knockouts, I think 2 actually had a win. He was knocking out guys with no wins. So come on. I talk about a padded record, and he seemed to do okay in the beginning. Alex, one more question. I appreciate you calling in, but were you listening to the show when I read that nostalgia article, or I read some pieces out of it?
No, but I did see that article, and I'm going to say the same thing. I got the link, but I didn't read the whole thing.
The hell you been doing all week, man? You're a boxing guy.
It's been a crazy week, and I had some car issues, and I've had a lot of work being done at the house. So there's at the condo here, rather. So.
You reminded me of when Victor Ortiz says nobody should take a beating like this. It's like, wait a minute, you're a boxer. What do you mean? We shouldn't take a beating like this, but you're a fighter. You're supposed to be fighting. It's like, Alex, you're supposed to be at least watching some of this stuff.
I know. I just sort of put boxing on the side burner.
See, I can't do that.
I'll get right back to it, though. I promise.
I can't do that. But they made some points in that article that I thought was pretty interesting, and it kind of was a follow-up to our question last week. And
yeah, I was going to forward you the link, because when I turned on the show today, I was glad you were talking about it, because I was going to forward you the link, because I saw it, and I was like, wow, this sounds like what Billy C. was saying, how, so many people, when they talk about boxing, they go right to that, the Four Kings era, and say, oh, I used to love boxing when there was, Hagler, Leonard Hearns, and Duran, and those guys had their series, one after the other. People tend to have those eras that they keep in mind.
Well, this one line that he wrote reminded me of you. He says, some fans take pleasure in flaunting their knowledge of fighters from the past, suggesting that those who aren't as interested aren't real fans. And he goes on to say, if you mean that you don't have Bob Fitzsimmons, a fighter who died in 1917, of whom scant footage exists, in your top 10 greatest fighters of all time, then you don't really know anything about boxing. And
I'm not that bad.
No, but come on, man. You said, and I quote, if you're not a diehard fan, we don't want you over here, So
I'm an elitist, but I'm not that much of a snob.
But you are a boxing snob. But it's true what they say, and that's like what we're trying to argue, and the truth of the matter is that it might not be fair to do that, and as a pro, he also went on to say that boxing is the only sport that's subjective, and you're able to do these things. You can't do it in baseball because there's stats, unless the statistics are equal or better or worse, you assume that the player is better or worse, based on, flat out statistics. Same thing as football and basketball, and he even used tennis as an example. But boxing, because it's not really statistic based, and it's not cut and dry, it's all subjective, that it leaves those doors open. And he makes a point, and it's something similar to what we've said a lot.
Yeah, I think that. But I think boxing, because it's something so basic, at least it looks so basic. It's a guy striking another in the face. Everyone has wanted to do it. Everyone's thought about doing it. And a lot of people have done it or had it done to them. So, yeah, the idea that arguing about who of all time is the best at doing that, of course people are going to want to do that.
Yeah. Well, hey, I think that's the beauty of boxing. Anyway, you get to do that, and there's no right or wrong answer. Except.
Yeah, well, and that's like me. I'm lousy at math. I majored in English. That's kind of the way it is when you're discussing great literature. Is if you could make your argument and your argument is sound, well, there you go. you're not right, you're not wrong, because maybe we don't know. If you're writing something about Shakespeare, he's not going to say, "Oh yeah, you got it. That's what I meant." How sound your argument is what will carry, your point or not. And I think that's still the case, even when you compare great fighters of the past.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. With English, you're not right or wrong. It's interpretation, right? You could read you and I could read the same story and look at it two different ways. So,
right.
But anyway, Alex, appreciate you calling in, and hey, start thinking about the sport of boxing a little bit, will you?
I will, and take care of that tooth.
Yeah, I'm gonna have something done to it tomorrow. So I'll show you the piece when I see you. I'm saving it. But anyway,
make it into a necklace.
Yeah. People have shark teeth as a necklace. I'm gonna have a Billy C tooth as a necklace.
There you go.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care.
Thanks a lot. That's Alex Papali giving us his thoughts on, well, a whole lot of nothing, really. But anyway, I appreciated him calling, and even though he didn't get a chance to follow up on some of the stuff that was going on, and quite honestly, since we don't have the big network joining us right now, I just want to kick one thing. Speaking of kicks, Holly Holm, who's considered the queen of female boxing in some circles, signed a deal. She retired from boxing, at least temporarily, and she went to MMA. Now, no, I'm not losing my mind or anything. I normally don't talk about MMA. We do have a section on the website that has MMA news, but she made her debut for Legacy Fight Club, and it's a kind of like a UFC league, I guess. But she made her debut, and it took place in Houston, Texas, on last Friday night. And, well, if you go to our website and you go to www.billycboxing.com, and on the right-hand side, you see the menus where all we have the columns for the writers and stuff. Well, there's a section there that says MMA news. Click it and check out the top story, which is a picture and a story of Holly Holm and her debut. She's now 4-0 as a MMA fighter, 4-0 with 4 knockouts. And this fight that she made in her Legacy FC debut is already a candidate for the knockout kick of the year. Check it out. There's a great shot of it up on BillyCBoxing.com. And I just want to say congratulations to Holly Holm and her promoter, Lenny Fresquez, who we're very close with here, everyone at Billy C Boxing. We have a great relationship with Lenny and Doris and everybody else over there, and of course Holly and Mike Winklejohn. So I just want to give him a thumbs up, and I wanted to give him a shout out and check out that picture because I think you're going to really enjoy it.
Wake up! It's time for the. It's too early for a trivia question.
All right, today's It's Too Early for a Trivia question is being brought to us by Jimmy Birchfield's Classic Entertainment and Sports and their next event, which is taking place July 27th at the Twin River Event Center, which is in Lincoln, Rhode Island. You can get yourself some tickets by visiting our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the fight poster that says Game On. The main event is Vladimir Bosse against Rich Gringas, and that's taking place on Saturday. So check that out and get some tickets. They got some special deals if you buy certain seats. You get some meal vouchers and some shopping vouchers and stuff like that. I'm not sure 100% what they are, but all you got to do is click on there and go over there, tell them Billy C sent you, and you want some information on VIP and ringside seating or whatever, and the deals they got. So you're going to love it. And by the way, speaking of Alex Papali, who was just joining us, he promised us that he's going to be ringside in fishnets. So if you want to check that out, check it out. But anyway, our It's Too Early for a Trivia question are always supplied to us by our very own trivia question guru, Henry Haskup. And today's question has a copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game on the line. And if you're the first one to email me the correct answer, Billy at Talkin' Boxing, that's TalkinBoxing.com, you're going to get your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. Here's the question and some hints. Who fought the most world title bouts without ever beating a world champion? Who fought the most title bouts without ever beating a world champion? If you know the answer, email me, Billy at Talkin' Boxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. Here's 3 hints. Number 1, this guy was a world champion. So if you're thinking that he fought, all these title fights and never won, he was a world champion. He fought 10 world championship fights. And in those 10 world championship fights, he had a record of 6 wins, 4 losses. Google search him, man. Who fought the most world title bouts without ever beating a world champion? Email me. The first one's going to get a copy of the new Title Bout Championship computer game. And if you are wondering how good it is, just ask nobody here. He's in the chat room right now. He's got 150 copies himself. And he's opened up a small distribution center because he's won so many of them. So good luck to everybody there. Email me, Billy at Talkin' Boxing with the correct answer, TalkinBoxing.com.
This day in boxing history.
And finally, this day in boxing history is being brought to us by Campanero and Tomkovich. That's right, if you're looking for a lawyer, maybe I should give them a call about my tooth, a lollipop company. But anyway, if you're looking for a lawyer, give them a call today, 845-221-4099, 845-221-4099. Let Campanero and Tomkovich knock out your legal problem, 845-221-4099. Tell them Billy C sent you and that I'm going to pick up the consultation fee. And just one little note here, programming note, we will not be doing a live show tomorrow. I'm going to go get this tooth fixed. So make sure you watch the replay. It'll give you a good opportunity, especially all you premium podcast subscribers. You can go back and play some older shows and listen to them, do some comparisons. Maybe you'll find some hints with these trivia questions that you might be able to use. But anyway, on this day, July 23rd, in 1994, one of my favorite fighters, Mike the Body Snatcher McCullum, wins a 12-round decision over Jeff Harding to win the WBC World Light Heavyweight title, and that took place in Bismarck, North Dakota. Also on this day, July 23rd, 1988, Tony the Tiger Lopez wins a 12-round decision over Rocky Lockridge to win the IBF World Junior Lightweight title, and that took place in Sacramento, California on this day in 1988. On this day, July 23rd, in 1897, George Dixon and Dale Hawkins fight to a 20-round draw that took place in San Francisco, California. As a result, George Dixon retains his world featherweight title. On this day, July 23rd, 1931, Battling Batano wins a 10-round decision over Freddie Miller to retain his world featherweight title. It took place in Cincinnati, Ohio. On this day in 1958, Joe Brown wins a 15-round decision over Kenny Lane to retain his world lightweight title, and that took place in Houston, Texas. And finally, on this day, July 23rd, 1994, Virgil Hill wins a 12-round decision over Big Frank Tate to retain his WBA World Light Heavyweight title, and that also took place on this day in 1994 in Bismarck, North Dakota. Hey, man, that concludes our show for today. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget, we'll be back on Thursday. I got one more thing to say. Make sure you tune in Thursday evening, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, ciao, baby.